Hey, it's Amadu with DP Review. We have the pleasure of sitting down with Vincent Laforet. Vincent, thanks for taking the time to speak with us.
Welcome, thank you.
You were an early adopter of video with DSLRs, and looking back, how has that changed your role as a storyteller, a visual storyteller?
Well, it's been a pretty momentous 3 years. About a month ago was the 3-year anniversary of Reverie, and my career and life have changed in a 180. I now do 99% of my work as a director and maybe 1% as a photographer. And this is after 18 years of being a photographer for the New York Times and Geographic and Time. So it's changed my world, and I know it's changed the market itself quite a bit as well. It's been a pretty unbelievable movement, if you will.
Now, with that ability for people to have access to video equipment that would have been, $40,000, $50,000 not too long ago, where do you see that going, or what do you want to see in the next 3 or 4 years in terms of producing video?
Sure. With that very same reason, I actually don't see HDSLRs going away for quite a long time. They may evolve, but regardless of what comes out in the market, regardless of what camcorders comes out from any manufacturers in the business, or film camera, digital, those will always have price points that are unattainable to a lot of people. And the young at heart, or the young guys and girls, are going to have a chance to continue working with these cameras and take advantage of incredible lenses that open up quite wide on a super large sensor and low light, and be able to tell stories. And if there's anything that I've learned and reinforced over the last 3 years is cameras are good, technology is great, but filmmaking is about telling stories. It's a really important key difference between photography and filmmaking.
Right. Well, now with that such extensive background in still photography, how has that influenced your creative direction now that you're doing primarily video?
Well, tremendously, in that the visual is always very important in my work. One of the hardest lessons I had to learn about 6 months to a year into it was that the first time in my career, the visual was not the primary focus. The visual has to serve the story, and without a strong story, no one wants to watch it. You get about 30 seconds to 2 minutes with beautiful stuff, and then people start to yawn or lose interest, no matter how gorgeous it is, unless you're pounding them with music and quick cuts. But to go and have someone sit down for 45 minutes, let alone 2 hours, you've got to have a narrative thread, whether it's a documentary, even a music video, or pretty much any film that, of course, a motion picture.
Do you feel like with the move to video and with all the technology, and do you feel today that you're a fundamentally different photographer than you were earlier in your career?
Yeah, and I think that would have been true regardless. We always evolve in our careers, but my mind has been opened to a very different way of working. My background was as a photojournalist, where I was very reactive. So the idea of a photographer grabbing their camera with one lens or 2 or 3, running out the door without really knowing what they're going to find, is part of the beauty of photography. And it can be very relaxing and meditative. You don't have to talk to anybody. You just watch flowers or sunsets or boats, or photograph people if you like. Filmmaking is all about pre-production. It's all about planning. So if someone's wearing a red dress, it's not by mistake. If you're shooting at 4 o'clock in the morning or 4 in the afternoon, it's not by mistake. Everything is carefully planned and choreographed given the number of people you have.
I would also like to hear more about an upcoming book project of yours. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I've done a book with Peach Pit about my life, which sounds a bit premature given that I'm 36. It's not a technical book, although it definitely examines lens choice and depth of field and all that. But it's not meant to be an introductory book to technical aspects of photography. It's really meant to be one that talks about the psychology, the thinking, the methods, the train of thought, the preparation for a variety of types of photography that I've done.
Now, given that such a radical change in the direction of your career was really enabled by the availability of video in the DSLRs, how do you see those lines blurring between still photographers, video photographers, and looking forward, what kinds of advances do you personally look forward to?
Well, honestly, that's for them to figure out, and for me to figure out, right? It hasn't been defined yet. This convergence idea, this hybridization of the business, is happening whether people want it to or not. So you've got cameras like the Red Epic that shoot 14 megapixel stills 120 times a second, and you've got the 5D Mark II and the 7D, and now the 1DX that are also shooting high quality images and video at 51,000 ISO plus. So not only is technology going to push all this closer and closer together, but I think there's a demand for new stuff, and people need to think out of the box, look away from Time Magazine and Life Magazine and the New York Times, the old quote-unquote media, and look more towards the online versions of those publications, and then some new publications, and also new ways of sharing media that have yet to be invented.
Well, that's great. Well, Vincent, thank you so much
You're
for
more
taking
than welcome.
time to speak with us. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.